It's October 2020 and it's time to talk about layoffs. So I'm going to dive into the layoffs and then talk about the trends that I have been seeing in layoffs over the past several months. Starting with Tempo Automation, their second round of layoffs, an unknown amount of staff. Active Campaign, an SMS marketing company, laid off 15% of staff. 5Train, a data company, 5% of staff. P.S. We're going to see a lot of data companies. Homey, a real estate company, 13% of staff or 40 people. Twin Strand, a bioscience solution company, laid off half of their staff. Built-in, a recruiting platform, this hurts me, 25% of staff or 50 people. Impossible Foods, a vegan food company, 6% of staff or 50 people. Turnitin Education is an educational company, 5% of staff or 51 people. Peloton Fitness. Now, we've heard about Peloton layoffs. This is their third announcement, I think. They're kind of crashing and burning, but 12% of staff or 500 people. Rev.com, a data company, laid off 2% of its staff or 85 people. Nereid, a data company, laid off 33% of its staff. Redesign Health, a healthcare company, obviously, 20% of staff or 67 people. Pavilion Data, a data company, 96% of their staff or 96 people. Mimotive, a business tool, 11% of staff or 180 people. HelloFresh, a food delivery company, laid off 7% of staff or 661 people. Udacity, an educational company, 13% of staff or 55 people. Picasso, a real estate company, laid off 30% of staff or 100 people. Brex, a startup financing company. Now, I'll mention, I know Brex uses expensive recruiters paying 20 to 50 grand just to hire one person, but they laid off 11% of staff or 136 people. MX, a finance company, laid off 24% of staff or 200 people. Noom, a healthcare company, laid off 10% of staff or 50 people. 6sense, another company that uses expensive recruiting companies, is a sales software that laid off 10% of their staff or 150 people. Extra Hop, a cybersecurity company, laid off an unknown amount of people. Salesforce, huge company we've all heard of, only laid off 0.1% of staff, but that's still 90 people. Beyond Meat, announcing their second round of layoffs, laid off 10% of staff or 200 people. Clear Capital, a real estate company, laid off 27% of staff or 378 people. Flipboard Media, 21% of staff or 24 people. Leafly, a retail company, laid off 21% of staff or 56 people. Clever Real Estate, an unknown amount of staff. We have ATOB, ATO with a capital B, a finance company, laid off 30% of staff or 32 people. GoPuff, a food company that has major celebrity investors, laid off 7% of staff or 250 people. Sorry, a psychological counseling service, laid off half of their staff, 50%. Roofstock, a real estate company, laid off 20% of their staff. Loom, a video messaging company, laid off 11% of staff or 23 people. Zeus Living, a rental home service, so you rent these furnished homes, 46% of staff or 64 people. Volta, an EV charging station company, laid off 54% of staff. Koros, customer service company, 10% of staff or 120 people. Sync, S-N-Y-K, it's a backend developer cybersecurity tool, 14% of staff or 198 people. Cerebral, a healthcare company, laid off 20% of staff or 400 people. Convoy, a logistics company, laid off an unknown amount of staff. Callisto Media, a data company, laid off 35% of staff. Broker, a finance company, laid off 12% of staff or 30 people. Fundbox, laid off 42% of staff or 150 people. MindBody, a fitness software as a service, laid off an unknown amount. Argo AI, a driverless car company, 100% of staff completely going out of business. GoFundMe, a finance company, 12% of staff or 94 people. And Zillow, real estate, 5% of staff or 300 people. Now, when you hear me say that 5% of staff or 300 people, that's because the news I found says the number of people laid off, not the percentage. So I did a little quick calculation on the percentage for those. Some of them listed both, but that is the news of layoffs that I have for October. Now, I will admit I'm going to be out of office for Halloween, so I'm recording this on the Friday before the last day of the month, so I may miss out on some companies, but some key themes I'm seeing. Video messaging companies are laying off, consistently laying off. I'm seeing a lot of data companies. That's companies that offer a software tool or a platform tool for companies to use, and they are laying off. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of real estate companies lay off, and that makes sense. In 2020, there was a ton of hiring in the real estate industry, so I would expect them to lay off now, not just because the housing market is changing, but also because it was extremely competitive in hiring in 2020, and a ton of people in real estate were hired. Other themes that I've seen throughout the other months are cybersecurity, software as a service, or platform as a service. Those companies are consistently laying off. I'm also seeing a lot of healthcare companies, and it is a particular kind of healthcare. It seems like the healthcare companies where the tech industry came into the healthcare industry and they wanted to fix all the problems. Well, those are the kind of companies laying off. For example, Noom is strongly identified as a tech company, just serving the healthcare industry. I'm also seeing a lot of companies that focus on tools or services for businesses to use. They're laying off. Clearly, businesses are hiring people internal and building their own internal tools. And coming up for the next months of layoffs that we have coming up to look for, Twitter. Elon Musk announced today or yesterday that he plans to lay off 75% of the Twitter staff. Twitter people make tons of money and they have great stock incentive programs. So those people losing their jobs, it might be a little painful. Intel has announced that they will have layoffs in November, and that's interesting to hear. I know that Intel, no, it's IBM who's hiring a lot of people, not Intel. Some industry news for you. And then Facebook is announcing that it will ask its employees to put 200% effort into their work, or they might get laid off. Now, Facebook is not an easy company to work for. They may have great perks, but they definitely try to hire the best engineers. So anyone who has a job at Facebook, I mean, there is a chance that maybe they were a Harvard grad and they just had a good looking resume, so they got hired. But most of the time, people working at Facebook are pretty good at their jobs. So people who are pretty good at their jobs still have a risk of losing their job. Now, for my predictions at what's going to come forward in the next few months, I talk about this in every video. Right now, the labor market does feel tight. There relatively isn't a ton of layoffs, or as measured by a lot of people, there's not a ton of people applying for unemployment. Likewise, companies are still hiring. Now, some of the big FANG companies have completely froze all hiring, like Amazon. I know personally that they have announced that they do not want to be hiring anyone anytime soon. I think till the rest of the year, we may see a few more layoffs, but it's in spring. I think that people will really see the reality that the tech industry is having massive layoffs. Most companies want to lay off before holidays so they don't have to pay for holiday pay or PTO. They don't have to give out the bonuses. But on that bonus factor, a lot of corporate companies don't pay out their bonuses until February or March. So I would suspect some layoffs to be happening in February, March. I've also heard stories of companies that are restructuring their benefits packages, that being going from specific days of PTO to unlimited PTO. Well, that's great for the companies because in a lot of states, if you have unlimited PTO, like in Texas, when you get laid off, fired, or quit, you don't get to be paid out for those days. States like California will pay you out for your unemployment. Even if it's unlimited PTO, they have a standard amount of days that employers are supposed to pay out when you leave the company because that is part of your salary is PTO. I'm also hearing stories that people are, when the PTO is being changed to unlimited, those that have accrued PTO days, they're taking those PTO days and translating them into stock. That sounds great, kind of, but they're also adding these crazy limits like 4-year vesting on the amount of stock that has been invested with your PTO time. If you quit the company within the first year of being If you quit the company within the first year of the PTO going from a specific amount of days to unlimited, well, you don't even get the vesting, right? You have to have at least 1 year after the vesting starts to see any of that money. That is super fishy stuff, and that's the kind of stuff I would expect to be happening at major companies towards the end of the year and next year. A lot of companies like Amazon offer great perks, and I've seen the salary breakdown. A large amount of their salary is in stock. So, well, I wouldn't say a large amount, but 25%, and we're looking at 60K in stocks. I would not be surprised. Maybe not Amazon will change it, but maybe Amazon imitator companies will reconsider their stock compensation packages. And because there are layoffs, granted, not a lot, but there are a lot more layoffs this year than the past 2 years. I would expect companies to be pickier with who they hire and offer less competitive packages. Not only are a lot of people in tech kind of shivering in their boots that they might lose their job, but the reality is setting in that we are heading into a recession and it might get pretty bad. I'm going to do another video that's going to explain labor hoarding. This is a trend that I'm seeing companies do now, and it'll be interesting to see if they will do the same thing in the spring. So check out my channel. Please subscribe. I'm going to be uploading that video 2 days from now, so you will get a notification if you turn on that notification bell when that video uploads. Thanks for watching this video. I talk about tech and tech hiring. If you happen to be one of the people laid off, well, this channel is for you. I'm going to give you honest, real feedback about hiring in the tech industry. I'm not one of those YouTubers that's telling you to job hop every year to get a higher salary. That advice might have worked before COVID, but we are going into different times, and not everyone will change their opinions towards the job search in time to secure a good job. So my subscribers are up to date, they know what's happening, and they have a better chance at keeping their job or getting a new job that's higher paying. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.